Thank you, and it wasn't that great. My name is W.K. Kip Stratton. I'm an author. I've lived around Austin for more than 30 years now, and my birth father was a professional rodeo cowboy and bull rider, rough stock rider, and I grew up around this sport, and I've never really fallen away from it. I keep following it around, and I've written one book about bull riding primarily, and number of magazine articles over the years. So this is sort of like being home for me, and I'm so glad to be moderating this panel with these incredible guests we have tonight who are responsible for this terrific series. It became live on Prime Video Tuesday. I've watched the whole thing once and most of it twice, and I'm really kind of addicted to this, as you can see why from what we just saw. So gives me great pleasure then to introduce our panel. I want to start with JJ Gotsch. JJ is the Chief Executive Officer of the Austin Gamblers. PBR team competition, and he's got experience in creating teams. He helped played an important role in creating the Round Rock Express and also the Corpus Christi minor league baseball team. Has a lot of baseball experience, and he's been recruited now to come into the pro bull riding world. So very happy to have JJ here. Next, one of the stars of tonight's episode, or this morning's episode, Ezekiel Mitchell. Zeke is, as you may remember, he's from Rockdale, Texas, which is about maybe 60 miles as the crow flies from where we're sitting right now. Also did part of his growing up in Baytown. So he's a Texas guy through and through, and just a couple of things. He learned the sport from YouTube. So, you know, this is the generational thing that's happening here. He's become a mainstay on the World's Top Bull Riding Tour, finished inside the World's Top 30 4 times, and played a key role, as you saw, as leadoff man for the Austin Gamblers in the premier series of the premier year of the team series. He is well known for his colorful personality, is what I've got here from PBR. And among other things, he's been featured in GQ and many other places. So we're really glad to have you here, Zeke. Eli Vastbiner. Another one of our stars. Eli is one of these guys who's been beaten up pretty badly and come back. Let's see, I'm looking here. Persevered through a dislocated shoulder and broken ribs in his career first World Finals in 2021. To record a historic 4 90-point rides at bull riding's most prestigious event, tying the all-time record, and be crowned PBR Rookie of the Year. He finished 2022 season number 9 in the individual standings. He was drafted in the first round of the PBR Team Series play by the Oklahoma Freedom. And he's certainly a very important member as you watch this whole series. He's a very significant part of it. So very glad to have Eli here. Eric Detwiler. He's a executive producer with Kinetic Content, which is the production company that did this, and bring out Micah Brown also, who's likewise an executive producer. And again, guys, just as I was telling you earlier, I'm just really impressed by this series from start to end and the work that went into it. Just a little bit more about the team play in PBR. This started in May of 2022. The first episode has to do with the draft. Choosing the team members for the different teams is very similar to watching the NFL draft in a lot of ways. And then at 8 episodes later, it ends in November with the championship series in Las Vegas. This series itself has this great dramatic arc to it, just in terms of the competition involved with these teams trying to become the first championship team. But as you kind of got a clue here, there are some tremendously compelling backstories going on here. And so we were talking earlier, I guess maybe people should know, you saw the video quality of video here. You guys shot a lot, right? You want to talk a little bit about what you all did?
Yeah, I mean, we did shoot a lot, and there was incredible access inside PBR to be at these events, to be able to film where really no one's filmed before. And when you get the cameras rolling, any event with Micah, we probably had 6, 7 of our own cameras there, plus all the PBR production on top of it. But once you start rolling on the action at an event, you can't stop. And so cameras just roll and roll and roll. You never know when you're going to get a moment of a big wreck or a moment of vulnerability backstage. So, I mean, thousands of hours had to go through to get really cold down to what we were, a little less than 8 hours total. It was a lot.
Right. And usually 6 cameras running, all of that sort of thing. And
at the event days for sure. But one of the things that was so important to us about the show was not just to showcase the rides themselves, but as you guys saw in the episode tonight and across the series, it's getting outside of the arena and getting home with the guys. There we wouldn't have 6 cameras for that, but 2, 3 cameras covering those scenes to try to get all of that beautiful vista outside of the arenas to paint a fuller picture of what these guys go through and what their motivation is.
Yeah. JJ, it's only been 1 season, and you helped define what that season meant and what a team is. And how did you see things change over the season? Was it different from what you thought it would be when you started out?
I don't know if I really had any expectations. We're taking a sport that had, primarily not really been individual since its start, and guys that had, literally been putting their hand in a bull rope and really only being accountable to themselves and their career and their families. And now taking this sport that was primarily individual and creating a team. One of the hardest, what I thought was going to be one of the hardest things was creating this team culture and creating these team bonds. And what we found out is it wasn't, because these guys, if you go to a lot of these PBR events, one of the things you'll notice if you're attentive and you're looking at the shoots is that these guys they're all friends. They're all rooting for each other. They pull on each other's ropes. They're there for each other when they need them. And so just, organizing this team series was just a better way to do what they've already been defining individually. But what was really unique is each one of these teams, I think, had their own team identity, and they were all a little bit different. But I think all 8 teams, not just the Gamblers, the Freedom did as well, built a great team culture and I think really built more excitement for the sport. And so we're excited because I think this series really shows that. And when you go to these events now, as opposed to just rooting for an individual rider or an individual bull, because these bulls are just as popular as the riders, but now you've got individual teams to root for, and there became these rivalries. One of the things, I don't know if you all noticed it, but after one of Eli's successful rides in this episode that you just saw, he went Oklahoma, 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 because when they got introduced before the very first night at the Moody Center, and most of these guys didn't know this, but people in Texas hate people from Oklahoma. and so, Eli's from North Carolina, Chase was from Arkansas, and they didn't know what was going on because bull riders have never gotten booed. And so, they're coming out for this intro and they're all getting booed. But it was just another one of those, going back to it, is creating this excitement and creating these teams, creating these rivalries and really more for people to cheer for.
Yeah, as you watch the series, you'll notice that there are some of the teams that you learn more about. You get inside the team a little more, and the Gamblers were a team that you seem to have given a lot of access to the filmmakers. What was your decision making on that?
Just, I guess my background more than anything. So I went to TCU. I had an RTVF degree. I knew that at some point in my life, I was either my baseball career was not going to last long. So I needed to figure out something else. And so I knew just enough to be dangerous throughout my, kind of business career. I've always been closely related to marketing and PR and communications, and really knew that, in addition to bull riding, and if we're going to grow this sport, in addition to, these guys risking their lives on a nightly basis, we needed to become content creators. And there's no better way, and I think example of what we've all seen with F1 with Drive to Survive. And when talking with these guys from Kinetic and Amazon, that was really kind of what we were hoping to do and I think Eric said getting these guys off the bull, out of the arena, helmets off, to where you really got to experience and hear their stories, learn more about Zeke, learn more about Eli, Dalen. There's 4 to 5 other characters, including Chase, that, really getting to know these guys. And so the only way that you can do that is through this access. And so we wanted to lead the way. And so I felt that with my background and everything else, and then having Zeke and some of our other guys, that we had the opportunity to do that. But then really I think the kudos need to go to Micah and his team, because these bull riders are great guys, but to gain their trust takes a lot.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be made fun of, but Micah and his team did a tremendous job of creating relationships and trust, so that these guys knew that their stories were going to be told in a very authentic and accurate way.
Right. And how did you guys make your choices about who you wanted to really focus on?
Yeah, so that's a tricky thing, because there's over 100 bull riders that are in this team series. So you have to kind of look at it a bunch of different ways. The first thing is, kind of looking at the team level, what teams interest you. I think that's really good. I think Austin, right out the gate, because they had a really strong roster, they had the number 1 bull rider in the world with, Jose. So I think they were kind of a lock. So the next thing you kind of look at is, okay, well, what's the team that's going to rival that team? So Carolina seemed to be really strong. And then who are the characters within that team? And then the other thing that you kind of look at, we chose to go with 3 teams and 2 characters on each team. And you kind of want those characters to all be different from each other. And so what is their journey? What do they each have? If you were to profile, if this was a movie, you wouldn't want to have the same character, So we got Eli, he has different stakes. He has got 2 twin girls, and he's the family guy, and he's, got his own journey. Zeke, he's undrafted and he's got his own POV. Chase Outlaw has his own POV. Dalen has his own POV. So being able to have a different character's journey is really important. And then how can they kind of rival each other, and how can their stakes and tension all be a little bit different, so that it tells a team journey along with an individual journey.
Now, did you run into any closed doors?
No, there were no closed doors really. For us, it was everybody was really cool, and PBR was really great about giving us access, and the teams individually were really great about it too. And I think the big challenge was just being able to let people know that this was going to be different than anything they'd ever done. And, when you get in there and you have a chance to talk to them and say, hey, and kind of vision cast with them instead of just telling them what to do, I think that goes a long way with gaining trust for people, because you can see like, hey, I'm going to tell this part about your story because this is the purpose. And then you can kind of, you're not just ordering them around. Instead, they're a part of the process, and they can see that it's going to help them. It's going to help PBR. It's going to help everybody involved.
Yeah. So just kind of following up with the stars here, Zeke, did you feel comfortable talking about personal stuff? Had both your parents were in here, and quite a bit about your family and your personal life. I mean, you even okay. Here's a spoiler alert. We get to see him get a pedicure eventually.
Well, that one was all my girlfriend. You know, I didn't have a choice at that point. But I do get pedicures every once in a while, so you know, it is what it is. But no, I'm pretty much just an open book. I felt like whenever I finally they gained my trust, I felt like that I kind of just opened up and let them have everything, because I wanted people to just get a glimpse inside of our world. It's a lot different than people may think as far as it goes with just being crazy bull riders. You know, we got real lives, we got real stories, we got families, and I think my family has always just told me to stay true to myself. So whatever's true to me, I'm gonna speak my opinion. I'm gonna be upfront about it.
Yeah, that's one thing that impressed me among the bull riders. I don't think anybody was BSing it at all in there. It was just, this is who I am. This is what you get. And we agree, Eli?
Yeah, there's no really way to bullshit bull riding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I agree with Zeke. And, I really didn't even know we were so hard to get along with. But yeah, no, it's, once we, got to know the crew and felt comfortable with them, all the doors were open and we told them our story and this is real life stuff and that we didn't hold nothing back.
Yeah. Eli, how do you feel about the team concept? I mean, there are like rodeo teams at the college level, like I know Texas Tech has one. And so there are some team things in rodeo, but it's traditionally all events are just really individual, except a couple of team events. But this is now a team sport, and they're talking about games. And I remember, we used to say, well, you can play golf, you can play baseball, you can play football, but you don't play bull riding and you don't play boxing. Those were two. But this is games. How do you feel about the team?
Yeah, no, after the first season, I grew to love it. I don't think any of us really knew what we were getting ourselves into. This is something completely different than we've ever done. And financially, money, whatever, we're having to rely on other people to stay on for me to get paid. And so, yeah, going into it, I don't think really any of us were just super excited about it. I think we were all content where we were and content on it being strictly on us, whether or not we get paid or not that day. And so, going into it, we all kind of, I feel like, had a little bit of a bad energy, negative vibe about it. But heck, by the third event, I was so tight with my guys. And that's what I loved about it was, we didn't really have an option of who was on our team or not. And people on my team, before we were on a team, I really wasn't that tight with them. We were buddies and I pulled for them and I helped them. But, I was put on a team where, normally I maybe not have got that close with Chase Outlaw or Derek Kobaba or all these other guys. And now they're my brothers. And so, it's really brought, opened my eyes to a lot of different things. And now I have a whole team full of guys that I would literally do anything for.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And Zeke, you were, it's very honest. You kind of had a rep as being an individual performer that they talk about a little bit in that first episode, but as it went on, you turned out to be a real team leader. Did you feel comfortable in the team dynamic?
Yeah, no, from the beginning, whenever it come down to draft day and I didn't get drafted, I was reached out by a bunch of teams, but for some reason, when JJ called me and Michael Gaffney called me and at the time Jeff Shear called me, literally the whole team called me and said they wanted me to be a part of the organization. And I knew that at that point in my career, I wasn't focused. I wasn't where I was supposed to be at all. And it took a level of maturity just to jump in and say, hey, they took a chance on me. I'm going to take a chance on them and I'm going to be all in for it. And that's what I try to do. And hopefully I can continue to do that and serve my role on the team as somebody that's a leader and somebody that's going to always be for the team and be an example for the rest of the new guys that we continue to get in the future.
Yeah. What do you see for this year, JJ? Are there any tweaks or anything that's being made to?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be tweaks, and these guys have been in PBR longer than me. You're going to get told something one day, and it's probably going to change the next. But I was very fortunate. I got to be a part of the building of the Round Rock Express and Corpus Christi Hooks and launching those two franchises from day one. But in both of those occurrences, they were part of the Texas League that had been around since the 1800s. So what was really interesting last year is not only launching a brand new team, but launching a league side by side. And so it was really interesting, not only working with the PBR, but with the 7 other GMs and owners. And we had an idea of how this thing was going to work. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, these guys they've got to stand a bull for 8 seconds. Like that didn't change. Most of the scoring mechanics didn't change, but there was little tweaks that we had to make throughout the year in terms of tiebreakers at the end and different things that would happen throughout the season. So it's been interesting because we made a lot of changes during the year last year. We've made some changes in the off season, and I would say that we're probably going to continue to make changes throughout the year, just trying to make it better. One of the hardest things is just the educational process, and we want to make it as easy as we can for the fans to understand. And so a lot of the changes that we've had to make, because they were just too, like, I couldn't even, articulate them to our writers or to anybody in our office, let alone our fans. So I just think it's going to continue to get better. The hope is that with this series, we're going to get outside the general PBR fan, the general Western sports fan, and get this into more of just general America, and hopefully get more people to come out and support PBR, come to these team series events, mm-hmm. and at the other PBR events throughout the year. But I see this thing as nothing but growing right now.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're going to try to take about 15 minutes for questions from the audience. And I think there was going to be a microphone set up. Okay. There are a couple of microphones here. I don't know if we want to turn the house lights up a little bit for people if they're walking down this way. But if you have any questions, you might make your way down to one of these 2 microphones, and we'll certainly entertain those. We are going to have kind of a hard stop at 12:15 because I know at least one person has a flight to catch, so we're gonna need to put the brakes on then. But come on down if you have questions. And in the meantime, I want to ask, both Eli and Zeke, what are you looking forward to next time around? Anything you're going to do different?
Yeah, there's a lot I'm going to do different. And watching the show, it's helped me to, see how Jose handled being a captain for the Gamblers and stuff like that. But for me, it was that first year, and I didn't really know what to expect. And it's also, I just had babies. We were building a house. And so I wasn't completely in it. And, going into this next season, it's going to be a totally different ball game. And, I've got things settled at home, kind of, sort of. So, I'm just looking forward to this year.
How old are your kids?
Well, I've got 2 twin daughters that are coming too, and my wife is pregnant with another one.
Congratulations.
So that's why I kind of got
so
it.
So it's not really settled.
Yeah, that's why I said kind of, sort of. But, it was the first year, and knowing what I know now, I think I went to the first event last year, not even knowing the rules or not even knowing what I still had to ask if it was 8 seconds or if they changed that or what. So now that I know, I'm looking forward to it.
Zeke?
Yeah, for me, it's just going to be to stay on the program, just really continue to be a part of the team and try to be the best that I can be for my team. And try to give Jose a little bit more help this year. Hopefully nothing else. I'm not going to spoil anything for the show, but hopefully nothing else happens crazy next year. And we'll just try to roll on and stay focused all the way through. And we already know the Austin Gamblers are going to win.
There we go. And you can get your Austin Gamblers t-shirts online. There
you can actually get a t-shirt with my number and last name on the back of it. So
there you go.
Y'all go pick those up right now.
Okay, questions?
So I guess my question's mainly for you guys, but what, as fans, what do we not know or should know about a bull rider's life that doesn't happen on the 8 seconds on the bull? You know, when you're not riding, what are the things that is the experience of being an actual professional bull rider?
I guess for me, I'd have to say that, kind of our whole lives kind of revolve around the sport. I mean, in and out of the arena, this is kind of what we live for. This is what makes us all tick. So, everything that I have in my life is pretty much given to me by bull riding. So, including all the clothes that I'm wearing, my girlfriend, she met me through bull riding. So, everything that I have is bull riding. So, it's not just what I do, it's a part of who I am.
Yeah, same. This is our life. But, I love riding bulls and I love the thrill of it and I love winning, but I really do it just the lifestyle. This is what made me fall in love with it, was just the travel and the camaraderie between my buddies and loading up in a Geo Metro with 4 other guys and driving to Oregon and just to get on one bull and then driving back to North Carolina with no money in your pocket. And, it was just the lifestyle and the fans and we really do truly live a life of a rock star in a way, with going from town to town every weekend. And so it's definitely, something that caught my eye at an early age and drew me to it. And, here I am, 32 years old, still chasing it.
Yeah. And I would just, as part of the answer to your question, it's a full-time job. I mean, if you, and the series will give you some insight into that. There's an enormous amount of training. You'll see physical conditioning. Well, you saw those guys running around without their shirts. These are some buff guys and in really good shape. And the training, there's a nice part where they were doing butt kicks as part of training, but they were wearing boots with spurs and they got an admonition. Now, don't go all the way and actually kick your butt while you're wearing spurs, but and then a sports psychologist figures into this, and it's a full-time job that you go through, and then you have that 8 seconds, that builds to it. And JJ, you might want to add something to that.
Yeah, I think so. Being in a different sport, in a different business my entire life until about 14 months ago, you'd kind of ask this, but what was really interesting to me about these guys is that it is their life and they're traveling and they're practicing and they're working out and all the different things that they're doing. But just think about for a second, if your livelihood depended on 24 seconds a weekend. And for these guys, that's really what it is, because they're going to get on bulls Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's 8 seconds, 8 seconds, 8 seconds. And so 24 seconds for an entire week defines if they're going to be successful or not successful, being able to buy a new house, buy more land, and all those other things. And then there was an interview that I was doing earlier this week, and they asked, what's the difference between running a minor league baseball team or a professional baseball team and a professional bull riding team? And I hadn't really thought about it. And just at that minute, I was like, this sport is interesting because there's only a couple other examples that I could give. And it would be probably being a commander in the military, being a police chief or a fire chief, to where the people that are working with you or working for you, every time they go to work, they're risking their lives. And so there's that pressure or that accountability that I now feel, because the risk that these guys are taking, it's not just a personal risk. They're risking their lives for themselves. They're risking their lives for their family. They're risking their lives for their teammates. And ultimately, they're risking their lives for me and our organization or our larger organization. And so when you think about that, it makes you, it's very sobering, but it makes you appreciate these guys even more, and it makes you work hard and try to support them every day. And so again, this opportunity to work with Kinetic and Amazon and bring their stories to light, and hopefully grow the sport, grow the sport as a whole, grow their individual brands so that they can be more successful, so that they don't have to ride bulls their whole life, has been something that's really pushed myself and the other GMs as well.
Another question?
Yeah, you kind of started answering my question. I was wondering for the riders what you hope for the longevity of your career, and then for everybody else, what you hope for the longevity or the effect on the sport, and especially what this might have, this docuseries might do for the sport. What would you hope the outcomes would be?
Yeah, we're all chasing a world title. You know, this is for us, and why we're doing it is there's $1 million prize at the end of every season that we're chasing. And, you know, for all of us, you know, I didn't come from no crazy, you know, rich family, nothing. If to get the things that I want, you know, I'm not going to go get it working a normal job. And so, to give my family the life that they want and the things that I want. And, you know, I've got to go and I've got to be able to win. And like you said, there's 24 seconds in a weekend. So every day leading up to that is training for those 24 seconds on that weekend to hopefully get a chance to win a little bit of money that'll go towards the standings. That'll lead at the end of the year to lead me to $1 million or a big prize that I can, you know, raise my family. And hopefully after this bull riding, I've built something at home that, you know, that I won't have to go get one of those normal jobs. Yeah, I don't like working, and I know he doesn't.
I was just gonna say same. Just saying.
Yeah. And so yeah, that's really all our goals is just to, you know, this is a short term thing, and hopefully, you know, hit it big while we're here, and you know, take something from it, and you know, and I hope that, you know, after my career's done, I'll be able to give back and to the sport or to the PBR. And, you know, I can't ever imagine leaving this sport and, you know, not ever having nothing else to do with it after I'm done. And so, you know, for me, I'll be giving back in some way.
Yeah. You know, one thing you mentioned, there are a lot of these people who come from pretty poor backgrounds. And when you start hanging out with some of the Brazilian bull riders and talking about where they come from and what the money they've sent back to their family has done to transform their whole lives, you know, back in Brazil, what they've done for their families is very impressive. So it's, yeah, you don't find many polo players among this bunch.
Yeah, there's not very many kids that have a trust fund that are riding bulls. You know, it's too easy to quit and go home. You know, if I go home, I don't eat, my kids don't eat, you know, and so, yeah, without that, you know, being there.
Sorry, just with the longevity
quit.
part, I was just wondering how short term is short term. Like
Short term is short term. I mean, we can buy our professional cards when we turn 18, and most guys don't make it to the age that Eli's riding at and still as dominant as he is. So like usually guys around 30, 31, 32, early 30s, that's when most guys are kind of thinking to hang it up. But now we've kind of transformed that because we're not just bull riders anymore, not going rodeo to rodeo. We're actually professional athletes. We work out, we try to keep ourselves in shape, and we take a lot of measures to try to make sure that our careers can last as long as possible. And I think also the PBR and all the protective equipment companies have really stepped up to really help us be able to make our careers longer. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Question here?
On the topic of longevity and some of the things we saw, what is the grossest injury that has ever happened to you?
Grossest. Oh no.
We saw some pretty brutal stuff.
Yeah. I guess for me, it had to be like Kansas City last year before the team series, during our individual series. I got pulled down by a bull. My hand got stuck in the rope. He knocked me unconscious, split my eye, split the top of my lip, and dragged me around unconscious in the middle of the arena and stomped all over me. So thankfully, God blessed me that where I was able to walk away from that and with a bunch of stitches and a sore head. But I mean, that was all that it was.
Yeah, this is a sport where, you know, every week you're going to see something that, you know, you're not going to see at any other sport. But yeah, this is a dangerous deal, and we all know that. And you know, I've been super blessed. I'm a bigger guy. Zeke's a bigger guy, so you know, our bodies take a little bit more than a Jose or somebody that's a little bit smaller than us. but yeah, I've seen some extremely brutal stuff, you know, in the locker rooms or in sports med, and yeah, you know, and really, there's not a day, you know, you can win the event, step off on your feet, and not ever get touched, and I promise you that night you're there's something that's going to hurt. You know, I really don't know of an event that I've left and just been like, man, I just feel amazing. Like I feel like I could go play some basketball or something, you know? So there's always a new bruise. There's always a new lump. There's always a new swollen part, a new little hitch in your giddy up every weekend. So
Eli had, at the finals this year, he got hurt and, one of his butt cheeks were a lot bigger than the other one. So he had like
I was half Kardashian.
Yeah, he was half Kardashian.
Okay, well, my watch is telling me that it's 12:15, so I think we're going to wrap it up here. This is an amazing panel. It's representative of some really amazing people in this series, and like I say, I've watched the whole thing once and most of it twice, and I'll be watching it again. It's really fascinating. So let's hear it for our panel.
Make sure y'all all come out to the Moody Center August 26th through the 28th for 25th to the 27th.
Watch get beat.
For the Austin Gambler Days. It's right here in Austin, Texas. So
yeah.